Hi everybody, it's wonderful to be here today. My name is Gabrielle Heyman. I lead brand partnerships for Zynga. We are one of the largest game publishers with 200 million people playing our games daily. And I'm so excited to be here with Gabrielle and Marcel Computer Marketing Officer.
And I sell cars. Afterwards, anyone needs one, come out.
And I gotta say, when we did our prep call, I think that I saw that a lot of marketing leads have the it factor, just you're very present and open and curious. I really enjoyed our talk as we prep for this, and I think you guys will enjoy it today too. So let's start with our icebreaker. When did you learn to drive? How many times did it take to get your driver's license? And what was your first car? And what do you drive now? I think we know that answer for the last question.
Okay, so let's start with South Jersey, 16 and a half years old, first driving. Then driver's license was first time, except for when I went to live in Japan, and it took me 3 times to get a Japanese license. I don't think they want us to drive over there. I'm not sure why. They want to make sure we know how to drive. I was over 40 years old. I've been driving for a bit, but something about being on the wrong side of the road. First job, first car was a 68 Pontiac GTO convertible. That was outstanding to drive, and I went through tires like there was no tomorrow. But currently, I drive a wonderful Kia Telluride SUV.
Excellent. And I know you said you have a couple dogs in that car, right? Like the size of it.
You know, I don't have kids. I don't need a 3-row SUV. I put the back row down, and my 2 Australian blue dealers love it in there. And we go on road trips. It's really great vehicle for that.
So, all right. So let's get to the topic at hand, which is Kia and your brand. So in 2021, you launched the Kia rebrand, which is a huge, massive undertaking. You started the company in 2019, and you have so much, 30 years automotive experience already coming into Kia. Tell me, what was the process? It sounds like a very heavy lift, a massive undertaking to revamp that. What were your most valuable contributions in that process?
So it's interesting. So 2019, when I joined Kia, one of the things that attracted me to Kia was not what was currently in the marketplace. So Telluride was in the marketplace, Kia Stinger was in the marketplace, but it was the things that I could see further down the road, right? Where's the company going? What's it about? And they had just talked about Plan S, which stands for sustainability, and they were looking to get into the electrified space in a really big way. And that's what I saw. And the other part was, we got to get rid of what Kia was known for. And for 25 years, we pounded that Kia is America's best value. Well, that's great up to a point, but if you want a brand to grow, you've got to build it on some other elements. So we started with the Plan S, and then how often do any of us get the chance to rebrand? And when I say rebrand, new logos, new direction, new tone, all of that. And the products definitely are the focus of that. And that's what we started to see and was really excited. And you're starting to see that 2 years later. Changing the logo. Some of you might look at the logo, I don't even know what's up there, and say, that looks like 9 Inch Nails logo. It's not. We assured them that it's not. But everyone's like, no one's going to know what it is. But you're only going to see it in 1 of 2 places. You're going to see it on a car, and go, okay, it must be a car, it's not 9 Inch Nails. Or you're going to see it in one of our communications with a car. So it's taken us 2 years, and we now only have about 50% recognition, which is okay. But it's a pretty good start.
So interesting, yeah. I think you mentioned in our prep call about the people that are not currently in the market for a car, they might not realize that this huge evolution in Kia has taken place. So now that it is 2023, we've had this new rebrand out for a couple of years, how is it going? I mean, are consumers perceiving the difference moving from a value proposition to sustainability and mobility?
Yeah, it's been impressive, even to me from the inside looking out, because we have a lot of, whether it's journalists or customers or others in the industry telling us, like, how'd you do it? What'd you do? What we did was, we went from, the average customer was about 75,000 household income. We're now, in 3 years, 4 years, 115,000. So we've grown the brand. We moved it up to get away from the America's Best side. Education levels are higher. The college education is what most people from the ED world are a little bit more educated. They're more the early adopters, so we're getting more of those. If you had asked someone 5 years ago if somebody will pay $60,000 for a Kia, everyone would have laughed. I would have laughed. And now we sell Tellurides that are almost $55,000, $60,000, and we're getting ready to come out with a 3-row SUV, all electric, EV9, that is going to be higher than that. And normally we'd be scared of that, but I think the brand is maturing, and you start to see some of the results that I talked about, and the opinion of the brand, we can talk a little bit more about that, is higher than it's ever been.
Yeah, I think that there's also become a democratization of features in cars. So, like years ago, if you bought a luxury car that had different features than other, standard automobiles, and now they all have it. And I think that that's really changed the perception of certain cars. And of course, I think the design of it is super cool. They look a lot different than the Sport which I drove like 15 years ago when I had a rental car. But I had a lot of fun with that Kia Sportage. So with this, like, what parts of the marketing and advertising, portfolio are making the biggest impact?
Yeah, so you talked about not everyone's in the market for a car at any given time, and most people are holding their cars for 7 to 10 years. I mean, I would take a poll and ask how many people have owned their car that they're currently driving for more than 7 years by a show of hands. It's got about 20%. If you're leasing, then you're obviously turning around a lot quicker. But people that are buying, they're holding 7 to 10 years, so they haven't thought about buying a car. When we started this transformation 4 years ago, so they still know the old Kia. So I gotta still re-educate them. So a lot of what we try to do is be in places that customers are going to be able to interact with the brand. We're a partner with the NBA. We are also a partner with over 15 NBA teams. We have activations there. We also became a partner with this small little venue down the road called the Kia Forum that gets a few thousand people a couple nights during the year. And we display there, and we're letting people find out about the car, the product line that we have now, without having to go to a dealership, or maybe they're not really interested in searching on shopping sites yet. So we do that. We have other things. We're going into the electrified space, so Electrify Expo. So it's a venue that goes around 7 different places around the country. That's for people that are trying to figure out if electrification is for them or not. A lot of people have questions. By the way, afterwards, I'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions you have, including electric vehicles can go through a car wash. But seriously, there are people that ask that question. So the education of where we're going is something that we take seriously, and we try to find the places that we can show what we're doing, what our product line is about, and then I know we'll talk in a little bit, about what we stand for. Do that in a little bit. So those are some of the things that we definitely focus on.
That's a lot of things and highly visible things. I was just at the Kia Forum, and I definitely obviously noticed Kia there. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about Kia's Plan S? This was a big undertaking about sustainability and mobility and really specific goals in what you're achieving, and it's not easy being green, obviously. You guys are taking such a big stake in it. But did you have to change things up for this Plan S? And maybe you can tell us a little bit about Plan S, and then tell us, was there infrastructure changes that you had to make to adapt? Was there changes in marketing and marketing team? Was there changes in the structure of how you guys do business?
So I love your, the thing you said, it's not easy being green and permanent, I probably said that, which is good. But when you talk about being green, I think what it all comes down to is, it starts with, can a company and a brand make this a better place in the future? That's what it starts with, right? So Plan S is about us providing sustainable mobility solutions. What is that? Well, the easiest one to recognize is like electric vehicles, right? So electric vehicles don't use gas, don't put out emissions. We can have a discussion of how we make batteries and all this stuff, but let's put that aside for a second. Electric vehicles definitely help the environment. So that's one easy one. The other part is how we make vehicles. And you hear a lot of companies talking about going carbon neutral. And we're committed globally to be carbon neutral in everything we do, our buildings, our manufacturing, everything by 2045. That's our way of saying we're going to leave this place in a better place than it is right now. That's what we're talking about. You have a lot of companies talk about that, and I really do hope when they say something that they're going to do it. A lot of people are talking about going electric. Some of our competitors have been talking about it for 2 or 3 years, and they still don't have an electric vehicle out yet, or they might have one. We're going to have 15 by 2027. We're going to have 7 of them here. We're going to build 3 of them here by 2025. That's the commitment, and when we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. It's a large investment for a company in the automotive business right now to go into electrification. You might hear a whole bunch of stuff from Ford and GM, profitability, non-profitability. Out there, of all the new cars sold, last month was only 7% were electric. So it's a lot of investment for just 7% market share. Now, we're not doing it for 7% market share. We're doing it, that sustainability element that I talked about, the future. Somewhere down the road, it'll go from 7, 15, to 30, maybe 50-50. There's people that are bold to say, oh, it's going to be 100%. We don't think that's ever going to be the case, which is why we're always going to give customers a choice of having gasoline engines or electric engines. But it's a big commitment, and I'm really proud of being in a company that is showing and doing at the same time.
Yeah, curveball question, that wasn't on the list, but I just read yesterday possibly, and it shocked me that the advertising industry's carbon footprint is bigger than the airline industry. And I don't know if anyone here read that stat, but it was in some article yesterday, and you were saying it's not only about making the electric vehicles, it's also about what Kia is doing just as a company. And what do you think about that as a, VP of marketing, and you have your other cohort CMOs all over, the fact that advertising has such a huge carbon footprint?
So let's start with, it's more than just making cars. So we put solar panels in our office, so that helps a little bit, right? That's an easy one. But we also want to be with people and companies that are thinking about that. That's a big thing that is a concern of ours, not just in the manufacturing. It's about what we all do. Everyone in this room has the ability to make a difference. The decisions you make will either accelerate that difference or just keep it status quo. So when we have conversations about that with our partners, and we'll say, what's your position on this? Like, oh yes, we're for it. Yeah, I got that part. Can you give me a little bit more of what you're doing? So there are normal conversations that you usually don't have with a partner, right? So what's that matter? I'm just going to help get your message out to the audience that you want. That's going to be good enough. It's like, yeah, but you're a brand that I'm now associating myself with. And if I associate that, they're going to find out about what you do too. So it's very important for us that people are trying in some way or fashion. And I don't have an example to give you or a measure to tell you, but I just say, knowing that you're doing something, knowing that you have a plan to do something, makes it better for us to partner because it's more authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. I was at Cannes Lion this year, and I know Innovators was there too. Maybe some of you were there, but that was a big topic. Cannes Lion was sustainability, and there's definitely agencies that are mandating their partners also have sustainability targets in place in order to even do business with them. So I think it is a very big shift in how it's happening. So, and that goes to our next question, which also is about corporate social responsibility, even outside of the sustainability. I think that we're seeing a lot of changes in consumers and what consumers expect out of the brands that they purchase from. So there's a huge shift happening, right, where Gen Z really wants the companies that they buy from to have the same values that they have, and they're mandating this, and I'm assuming it's just going to continue as they get older and future generations come along. So in 2022, you guys did a big partnership with St. Jude, and when you described it, because I knew you went to the activation and you saw the joy in these kids' faces that were undergoing some sort of treatment at St. Jude's, and you kind of brought some levity to the day. Like, could you talk about what factors did you have to take into account when doing like a social good campaign for something that is obviously such a sensitive topic as childhood illness?
So let's start with CSR. That goes back to the conversation we had a little earlier. It's like, yes, they know what product your brand is selling, most people, and you're going to tell them all the details. But what they don't know, again, is a little bit more deeper. Is what do you stand for? How do you help in the local community that your customer lives in? And basically, how are you giving back? How are you making a difference? So when I got to Kia in 2019, we did some things in CSR. We made some donations here and there. And then unfortunately for all of us, this small little thing called COVID happened and put us in lockdown. And it was at that moment that we said, what can we do to help? We want people to still buy cars, but what can we do to help them? And we literally shut our factory down in Georgia. And we had a lot of our workers there going, okay, we understand we're not building cars. What can we do to help? So we got together and said, we're going to make face shields. And we're going to send them all over the country. We made 500,000 face shields and shipped them. We have over 750 dealers across the country. And we shipped every single one of them 200. And we made larger donations. And all the people that came in to make the face shields in the factory all did it voluntarily. All the people that went and delivered them did it voluntarily. The dealers all got behind it. So that was the start of our Accelerate the Good program. It's like we wanted to do something. So with that, we wanted to continue. So we now have a partnership with our dealers. For every car they sell, there is a contribution that goes into a fund for us to be able to donate in places. And last year we had over $4 million that we donated, of which 1.3 was to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. And the challenge that you have at any point in time is all of us, any brand can write a check, right? But here, it's easy. Here's $1 million for you. I don't like that. It's not a little money, it's a lot of money. But that's easy to do. It's like, what else can you do? What else can you do that's not as easy? And that's the thing that you're referencing. And we went to St. Jude's campus and we said, during November, December, a lot of people, best thing that they like to do is let's go look at the holiday lights. Right? Let's go out with the holidays. And some of those kids couldn't leave the hospital, couldn't see it. So we brought the lights to them. And we set up a whole thing that we brought in a car and put some hydraulics on it, and we set up these huge screens, and we put the kids in. Let me stop describing, let me sober up for a second, just play that for a second.
Kia, movement that inspires.
So, again, put us all for a second. If you go back to December, usually in the car business, that's when you hear that all those year-end deals, right? December to remember, get $1,500 cash back, get a great lease. There's not a single offer in there. Always sit here and say, buy a car, we'll get the lease. So when you talk about, how difficult, what's it to do, when you have the conversation internally and say, we're going to do a sales event and we're not going to tell them when we have any offers. And we're going to do great. And they're like, are you kidding me? There's no way. And I said, you got to trust me on this, because I had done this in a previous life with a different brand, and fortunately, they trusted us. And literally, our imagery scores that we measure shot through the roof in trust. Consideration went through the roof. And we had our best December sales ever in 30 years. So I think the big takeaway on this is doing good is good for business. And it's just natural.
Yeah, I think it was so interesting about that, like I almost started crying, right? When you see those kids and like the joy that they have. But you also enable the consumers to do good, right? Because you went back and did the proceeds from each sale back to St. Jude. So you brought that into that mix. Is that something you're going to do again this year? Or are you able to?
So we just came from our national dealer meeting. We do it once a year. We were in Las Vegas. It was last week. We had over 2,000 people there representing all our dealers. And we talked about CSR. And the little girl that's in the back seat, her name's Aspen, I wanted to visualize for the dealers, because they're making a contribution for every car sold, what that means, what's really happening with those funds. It's like, yeah, no, I'm getting to something. What's really happening? A little difficult, sorry. I'm talking about the entire marketing plan, telling them all the new cars they're going to have, telling all this stuff. And at the end, I bring Aspen out. And I talk about, you all donated over $1.3 million to this girl that 2 years ago had cancer. And at 8 years old, she's standing here in total remission because of what you did. So, sorry. I think car dealers have a little reputation of just being, stodgy youth, old men, or there's women too. And every single one of them afterwards came up to me and they're like, I'm sitting next to these two big guys and we're all looking at each other. I'm not crying, you're crying, I'm not crying, you're crying. But the point was, they got it. So to say, are we going to do something? We're going to do something.
Wow. First of all, I feel like I've never had someone cry on stage. So that was an intense story, and I'm wondering, not to go back to just the business at hand, but you have to get your dealers to buy into a lot of stuff that you're doing. So, the year prior to seeing all the results of what eventually happened with this, and obviously, the deep, meaningfulness paid off and contributing to what you just said. Was it difficult prior to launch to get them to take that risk? You mentioned it, but I'm just wondering what it was like.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I've done this twice. I did it at Mazda and I've done it here. And each time, when I start somewhere, my simple mantra is, hire me to help you with your brand and know that we're going to do things that are going to make you uncomfortable at some point in time. And if you're not ready for that, then I'm the wrong person for the job. And it's not just to do things that are crazy, it's just to do things that are different, that sometimes, I got to go out on the ledge on this one. So I said that when I got here, and I said, we're going to do some things that are difficult. And when I'm having conversations, and not just the dealers, internally, when I'm having conversations with them, we have a dealer council, it's 15 dealers representing 750, we meet a couple times a year in person. And when I sit here and say, we're going to do a sales night, everyone's like, yes, we're going to do a sales night. Good, extra sales, good card sales. I say, well, we're not going to do anything with offers. And they all silence. I said, we're going to do something to show what you all are already doing. You all are already giving back in your local communities and not getting credit for it. So why don't we do something a little bigger that you get a halo effect to show what you actually are doing? Yeah, I don't know. I know I gotta make the fiscal year number at the end of December. December is it. I said, remember that time when I told you we were going to make you uncomfortable? This is it. You gotta trust me. We do it one time. Doesn't work, never do it again. January happens, best sales month ever. I deal with phones like we're doing it again next year, right? So, you gotta trust sometimes.
So, such a fascinating story to me. I think sometimes it shows you kind of have to do what's the opposite of like what you would think would work, and then it even ends up working better. Which brings me to my next question and comment, which obviously you're a very respected marketing leader. I said it in the beginning, like I could tell when you sat down to speak, you've got that it factor, you're very present, you're curious, you're humble, and you're a visionary, clearly. So I would say you're a bona fide marketing influencer. You've got 12,000 followers on LinkedIn. What are some of your contributions? This is obviously one of them, so you can't say something true, but what are some of the contributions to your company, employees, industry at large that you're most proud of?
So, thank you for saying 12,000 LinkedIn. I also have 28,000 X, formerly Twitter, followers as well. And you know what? I think the biggest thing that I love is showing people, like in this room, different ways of helping themselves and a brand out. It's like, I don't like to say 30 years, but sure, 30 years. I've done a lot of things. I've seen things that work. I've seen things that don't work. I've been with different brands. I've been with different cultures. I've lived all over the U.S. I've lived in Tokyo. I've lived in Beijing. So I understand that different cultures in different areas and different ways of communicating. And I just use that to try to help other people. I mean, my team, I do it on a daily basis. I don't propose solutions. When they come to me, it's like, here's the problem. I'm like, basic one-on-one. Well, what are we going to do? Well, that's why I'm in front of you. They go, give me an option. Give me two options. They give an option and help modify, craft it, make it a little better, and therefore it's their thing that was happening. They feel good about it. It helps the brand. I use the social influence to show that. I want people to see that they can learn from other brands, that they can learn from other people, and quite honestly, I want my team to show that I'm promoting them and what they're doing. So those are things, besides the giving back and charity elements, that you said I'm not allowed to say again, which by the way I'm very proud of. But more importantly is just helping the future, which is one of the other reasons we do a lot of things with kids, whether it's scholarships, whether it's St. Jude, whether it's Covenant House for youth homelessness. That's the future, right? And if you're not contributing to help make the future better, then who is?
You're also, absolutely, but from a leadership and managerial perspective, you're also really leaving your team, it sounds like, a lot of space for them to grow and fill in the kind of vision that you're top line guiding, but you're not telling them what to do. You're asking them to kind of figure it out and come back to you.
To a certain extent, yes. There's a thing that I will give 100% credit to Meta, which was back then called Facebook. They sent out some really nice cards, things, and one of the things I kept and put it on my desk, and I still have it on my desk 10 years later, and it says, fail harder. And, it's one thing to say that go ahead and fail harder. It's another thing if you actually let your team do that. Because failing means something didn't work, and is that going to affect the business that month or the next month or something like that? And I look at it, as long as they're learning something, I'm okay with those lessons. And that's one of the things I try to encourage, is doing some different things. You know, we got a representative of my team over here in Brad sitting in the front row, and we're going to go do something in CES, which at the very end, I'm going to capture that, but anyway. And it's like, let's do something different. And they came to me with this ridiculously expensive, extravagant, oh my God, let's go do it idea. And we're going to go do it. And I think we're going to blow people away. And it's just amazing. And I can't tell you what it is, but if you go to CES, you'll be able to see it. And that's what I love about it.
I'll be there, and I know we're going to Innovators over there, so I really love this. We'll be there too. I know we only have like 3 minutes late. When you are not, you know, like thinking about Kia and all the things we talked about today, like what are you doing? What are you thinking about?
So, it's football season. I'm a Philadelphia Eagle fan. I went to the University of Texas, so I'm a Longhorn fan before because right now. And I love to travel, to go try wine in different countries, in different states. And it's amazing what you find by doing that. And, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, I travel and go eat good restaurants. And we all do that too. But to be able to try wine, you are now interacting with people in an environment that are like, oh, this is good. You like that? I'm not quite sure. It's like, I'm from the U.S. Where are you from? I'm from Paris. Well, we're all here in Spain. And if the barriers break down and the understanding and relationship just starts like that, I love it. And then besides that, I play ice hockey on Sunday nights for the team's practice.
So busy. Okay, so last question. 2044 will be the 100-year anniversary of Kia. What do you think the automotive industry will look like by then?
That's 20 years from now. Let's see. We are talking to our dealers about the way things are evolving as we speak. And I think what happened during the pandemic showed consumers and showed our dealers there's another way of buying a vehicle. There's another way of doing a lot of things, but there's another way of buying a vehicle. And we had to, in various states around the country, you know, they locked things down. You couldn't go to a dealership. They wouldn't let you. They couldn't sell you by having somebody come in. What they could do is you go online to do something. You could then have a car delivered to your driveway, dropped off. I want to talk about personalized service. So they showed for a moment a different way of doing things. And we're not, and we don't think everybody's just gone back that, yeah, I just want to go back in and spend 3 hours in a dealership and negotiate. So we dialed up our digital retailing efforts to make it that if somebody wants the choice to do an end-to-end of, I'm starting to research a car, I've identified the car, I've identified the dealership that has the car, I now know the price, I've got the financing, I can just have the car delivered to me, or I can go pick it up and make it like that the easiest. That's what we're working towards. So that's one portion. That doesn't get to your 2044 number. 2044, we've talked to our dealerships about being mobility hubs. So currently, they all sell vehicles for customers to drive. There's a small little thing called Uber and Lyft that supplies a lot of cars, or it needs a lot of cars for them to drive us all around nowadays, right? We don't focus on the yellow taxis anymore. These cars are whether they're Teslas or Toyotas or something that is electric. And we looked at it and said, well, can we make something that'll be usable by those rideshare services? Can we make something that'll be comfortable for customers that ride in them? So that's one thing that we see in the future as an opportunity. And the other part is that people are going to need infrastructure for electric vehicles. Yes, whether you charge at home, but if you own a condo or rent an apartment, of which 35% of people that buy EVs do, they can charge at home. Could a dealership be some element of that? Could there be some element of, hey, you know what, for my regular car, every single day, I want to drive an EV6. But you know what, 2 times a year, I go off and I go camping and I got, 2 families that I go with, and I need a real 3-row SUV. Can we do some sort of ride share exchange? So those are the types of things that I think will become a little bit more customer-friendly oriented as we move forward in the electrified phase.
Interesting. Yeah, I love that. All right, well, it is time. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Gabrielle. I'm with Business.
Thank you very much for having me.